Hello there. Hello, Kelly, and Marion, and Ellen, and Ali, and then several other names came up before I sat down. If you're new, I am so glad you found us. I wonder how you found us. I know that many people tell their friends, so perhaps that was the way, or you saw my wife's Instagram, but whatever it is, I'm glad you're here. My name's Gildart, and every day I sit in front of the fire and I read a chapter or two of a lovely old book to those who might like to join with us. We have a lovely group of people who listen along, and they chat by sending messages. Everything is totally fine. Please chat away as I read. It's really it's the community that is the best part about this. So I welcome you to dive in and meet everyone and enjoy. Currently, we are in the middle of a book that I'm loving. The Sun Also Rises by Ernest Hemingway. We just reached the end of book 1. So now we're about to go into book 2. Welcome to a fireside reading of The Sun Also Rises by Ernest Hemingway. Book 2, Chapter 8. I did not see Brett again until she came back from San Sebastian. One card came from her from there. It had a picture of the Concha and said, "Darling, very quiet and healthy. Love to all the chaps. Brett." Nor did I see Robert Cohen again. I heard Francis had left for England, and I had a note from Cohen saying he was going out in the country for a couple of weeks. He did not know where, but that he wanted to hold me to the fishing trip in Spain we had talked about last winter. I could reach him always, he wrote, through his bankers. Brett was gone. I was not bothered by Cohen's troubles. I rather enjoyed not having to play tennis. There was plenty of work to do. I went often to the races, dined with friends, and put in some extra time at the office getting things ahead so I could leave it in charge of my secretary when Bill Gorton and I should shove off to Spain the end of June. Bill Gorton arrived, put up a couple of days at the flat, and went off to Vienna. He was very cheerful and said the States were wonderful. New York was wonderful. There had been a grand theatrical season and a whole crop of great young light heavyweights. Any one of them was a good prospect to grow up, put on weight, and trim Dempsey. Bill was very happy. He had made a lot of money on his last book and was going to make a lot more. We had a good time while he was in Paris, and then he went off to Vienna. He was coming back in 3 weeks, and we would leave for Spain to get in some fishing and go on to the fiesta at Pamplona. He wrote that Vienna was wonderful. Then a card from Budapest. "Jake, Budapest is wonderful." Then I got a wire. "Back on Monday." Monday evening he turned up at the flat. I heard his taxi stop and went to the window and called to him. He waved and started upstairs with his bags. I met him on the stairs and took one of the bags. "Well," I said, "I hear you had a wonderful trip." "Wonderful," he said. "Budapest is absolutely wonderful." "How about Vienna?" "Not so good, Jake. Not so good. It seemed better than it was." "How do you mean?" I was getting glasses and a siphon. "Tight, Jake. I was tight." "That's strange. Better have a drink." Bill rubbed his forehead. "Remarkable thing," he said. "Don't know how it happened. Suddenly it happened." "Last long?" 4 days, Jake. Lasted just 4 days. "Where did you go?" "Don't remember. Wrote you a postcard. Remember that perfectly." "Do anything else?" "Not so sure. Possible." Go on, tell me about it. Can't remember. Tell you anything I could remember. Go on, take that drink, and remember. Might remember a little, Bill said. Remember something about a prize fight. Enormous Vienna prize fight. Had a black man in it. Remember the black man perfectly. Go on. Wonderful black man. Looked like tiger flowers, only 4 times as big. All of a sudden, everybody started to throw things. Not me. Black man just knocked local boy down. Black man put up his glove. Wanted to make a speech. Awful, noble-looking black man. Started to make a speech. Then local white boy hit him. Then he knocked white boy cold. Then everybody commenced to throw chairs. Black man went home with us in our car, couldn't get his clothes, wore my coat. Remember the whole thing now, big sporting of an evening. What happened? Loaned the black man some clothes and went around with him to try and get his money. Claimed black man owned the money on account of wrecking Hall. Wonder who translated. Was it me? Probably it wasn't you. You're right, wasn't me at all. Was another fellow. Think we called him the local Harvard man. Remember him now, studying music. How'd you come out? Not so good, Jake. Injustice everywhere. Promoter claimed black man promised let local boy stay. Claimed black man violated contract. Can't knock out Vienna boy in Vienna. My God, Mr. Gordon, said the black man, I don't do nothing in there for 40 minutes but try and let him stay. That white boy must have ruptured himself swinging at me. I never did hit him. Did you get any money? No money, Jake. All we could get was the black man's clothes. Somebody took his watch, too. Splendid black man. Big mistake to have come to Vienna. Not so good, Jake, not so good. What became of the black man? Went back to Cologne. Lives there, married, got a family. Going to write me a letter and send me the money I loaned him. Wonderful black man. Hope I gave him the right address. You probably did. Well, anyway, let's eat, said Bill, unless you want me to tell you some more travel stories. Go on. Let's eat. We went downstairs and out onto the Boulevard Saint-Michel in the warm June evening. Where will we go? Want to eat on the island? Sure. We walked down the boulevard. At the juncture of the Rue d'Enfer Rochereau with the boulevard is a statue of 2 men in flowing robes. I know who they are. Bill eyed the monument. Gentlemen who invented pharmacy. Don't try and fool me on Paris. We went on. Here's a taxidermist's, Bill said. Want to buy anything? Nice stuffed dog. Come on, I said. You're pie-eyed. Pretty nice stuffed dogs, Bill said. Certainly brighten up your flat. Come on. Just one stuffed dog. I can take 'em or leave 'em, but listen, Jake, just one stuffed dog. Come on. Mean everything the world to you after you bought it. Simple exchange of values. You give them money, they give you a stuffed dog. We'll get one on the way back. All right, have it your own way. Road to hell paved with unbought stuffed dogs. Not my fault. He went on. How'd you feel that way about dogs so sudden? Always felt that way about dogs. Always been a great lover of stuffed animals. We stopped and had a drink. Certainly like to drink, Bill said. You ought to try it sometimes, Jake. You're about 144 ahead of me. Ought not to daunt you. Never be daunted. Secret of my success. Never been daunted. Never been daunted in public. Where were you drinking? Stopped at the Crillon. George made me a couple of Jack Roses. George is a great man. knows the secret of his success. Never been daunted. You'll be daunted after 3 more Pernod. Not in public. If I begin to feel daunted, I'll go off by myself. I'm like a cat that way. When did you see Harvey Stone? At the Crillon. Harvey was just a little daunted. Hadn't eaten for 3 days. Doesn't eat anymore. Just goes off like a cat. Pretty sad. He's all right. Splendid. Wish he wouldn't keep going off like a cat, though. Makes me nervous. What'll we do tonight? Doesn't make any difference. Only let's not get daunted. Suppose they got any hard-boiled eggs here. If they had hard-boiled eggs here, we wouldn't have to go all the way down to the island to eat. Nix, I said. We're going to have a regular meal. Just a suggestion, said Bill. Want to start now? Come on. We started on again down the boulevard. A horse cab passed us. Bill looked at it. See that horse cab? Gonna have that horse cab stuffed for you for Christmas. Gonna have all my friends and gonna give all my friends stuffed animals. I'm a nature writer. A taxi passed. Someone in it waved, then banged for the driver to stop. The taxi backed up to the curb. In it was Brett. Beautiful lady, said Bill. Going to kidnap us. Hello, Brett said. Hello. This is Bill Gordon, Lady Ashley. Brett smiled at Bill. I say, I'm just back. Haven't bathed even. Michael comes in tonight. Good. Come on and eat with us, and we'll all go to meet him. Must clean myself. Oh, rot. Come on. Must bathe. He doesn't get in till 9. Come and have a drink, then, before you bathe. Might do that. Now you're not talking rot. We got in the taxi. The driver looked around. Stop at the nearest bistro, I said. We might as well go to the Closerie, Brett said. I can't drink these rotten brandies. Closerie des Lilas. Brett turned to Bill. Have you been in this pestilential city long? Just got in today from Budapest. How was Budapest? Wonderful. Budapest was wonderful. Ask him about Vienna. Vienna, said Bill, is a strange city. Very much like Paris. Brett smiled at him, wrinkling the corners of her eyes. Exactly, Bill said. Very much like Paris at this moment. You have a good start. Sitting out on the terraces of the Lilas, Brett ordered a whiskey and soda. I took one too, and Bill took another Pernod. How are you, Jake? Great, I said. I've had a good time. Brett looked at me. I was a fool to go away, she said. One's an ass to leave Paris. Did you have a good time? Oh, all right. Interesting, not frightfully amusing. See anybody? No, hardly anybody. I never went out. Didn't you swim? No, didn't do a thing. Sounds like Vienna, Bill said. Brett wrinkled up the corners of her eyes at him. So that's the way it was in Vienna. It was like everything in Vienna. Brett smiled at him again. You've a nice friend, Jake. He's all right, I said. He's a taxidermist. That was in another country, Bill said, and besides, all the animals were dead. One more, Brett said, and I must run. Do send the waiter for a taxi. There's a line of them right out front. Good. We had the drink and put Brett into the taxi. Mind you're at the Select around 10. Make him come. Michael will be there. We'll be there, Bill said. The taxi started, and Brett waved. Quite a girl, Bill said. She's damned nice. Who's Michael? The man she's going to marry. Well, well, Bill said, that's always just the stage I meet anybody. What'll I send them? Think they'd like a couple of stuffed racehorses? We better eat. Is she really Lady something or other? Bill asked in the taxi on our way down to the Ile Saint-Louis. Oh, yes, in the stud book and everything. Well, well. We ate dinner at Madame Leconte's restaurant on the far side of the island. It was crowded with Americans, and we had to stand up and wait for a place. Someone had put it in the American Women's Club list as a quaint restaurant on the Paris quay, as yet untouched by Americans, so we had to wait 45 minutes for a table. Bill had eaten at the restaurant in 1918, and right after the armistice, and Madame Leconte made a great fuss over seeing him. Doesn't get us a table, though, Bill said. Grand woman, though. We ate a good meal, a roast chicken, new green beans, mashed potatoes, a salad, and some apple pie and cheese. We've got the world here, all right, Bill said to Madame Leconte. She raised her hand. Oh no, sorry. You've got the world here, all right, Bill said to Madame Leconte. She raised her hand. Oh, my God. You'll be rich. I hope so. After the coffee and a fiend, we got the bill, chalked up the same as ever on a slate that was doubtless one of the quaint features, paid it, shook hands, and went out. You never come here any more, Monsieur Barnes, Madame Leconte said. Too many compatriots. Come at lunchtime. It's not crowded then. Good. I'll be down soon. We walked along under the trees that grew out over the river on the Quai d'Orléans side of the island. Across the river were the broken walls of old houses that were being torn down. They're going to cut a street through. They would, Bill said. We walked on and circled the island. The river was dark, and a bateau mouche went by, all bright with lights, going fast and quiet up and out of sight under the bridge. Down the river was Notre Dame, squatting against the night sky. We crossed to the left bank of the Seine by the wooden footbridge from the Quai de Béthune, and stopped on the bridge and looked down the river at Notre Dame. Standing on the bridge, the island looked dark. The houses were high against the sky, and the trees were shadows. It's pretty grand, Bill said. God, I love to get back. We leaned on the wooden rail of the bridge and looked up the river to the light of the big bridges. Below the water was smooth and black. It made no sound against the piles of the bridge. A man and a girl passed us. They were walking with their arms around each other. We crossed the bridge and walked up the Rue du Cardinal Lemoine. It was steep walking, and we went all the way up to the Place Contrescarpe. The arc light shone through the leaves of the trees in the square, and underneath the trees was an S-bus ready to start. Music came out of the door of the Nègre Joyeux. Through the window of the Café aux Amateurs, I saw the long zinc bar. Outside on the terrace, working people were drinking. In the open kitchen of the Amateur, a girl was cooking potato chips in oil. There was an iron pot of stew. The girl ladled some onto a plate for an old man who stood holding a bottle of red wine in one hand. Want to have a drink? No, said Bill. I don't need it. We turned to the right off the Place Contrescarpe, walking along smooth, narrow streets with high old houses on both sides. Some of the houses jutted out toward the street. Others were cut back. We came onto the Rue du Pot de Fer and followed it along until it brought us to the rigid north and south of the Rue Saint-Jacques and then walked south past Val de Grace, set back behind the courtyard and the iron fence, to the Boulevard du Port Royal. "What do you want to do?" I asked. "Go up to the cafe and see Brett and Mike?" "Why not?" We walked along Port Royal until it became Montparnasse, and then on past the Lilas, Lavines, and all the little cafes. De Moy's, crossed the street to the Rotonde, past its lights and tables, to the Select. Michael came toward us from the tables. He was tanned and healthy-looking. "Hello, Jake," he said. "Hello, hello. How are you, old lad?" "You look very fit, Mike." "Oh, I am. I'm frightfully fit. I've done nothing but walk all day long. 1 drink a day with my mother at tea." Bill was gone into the bar. He was standing talking with Brett, who was sitting on a high stool, her legs crossed. She had no stockings on. "It's good to see you, Jake," Michael said. "I'm a little tight, you know. Amazing, isn't it? Did you see my nose?" There was a patch of dried blood on the bridge of his nose. "An old lady's bags did that," Mike said. "I reached up to help her with them, and they fell on me." Brett gestured at him from the bar with her cigarette holder and wrinkled the corner of her eyes. "An old lady," said Mike. "Her bags fell on me. Let's go in and see Brett. I say, she is a piece. You are a lovely lady, Brett. Where did you get that hat?"
"Chap brought it for me. Don't you like it?"
"It's a dreadful hat. Do get a good hat."
"Oh, we've so much money now," Brett said. "I say, haven't you met Bill yet? You are a lovely host, Jake." She turned to Mike. "This is Bill Gorton. This drunkard is Mike Campbell. Mr. Campbell is an undischarged bankrupt."
"Aren't I, though? You know, I met my ex-partner yesterday in London, chap who did me in." "What did he say?" "Bought me a drink. I thought I might as well take it. I say, Brett, you are a lovely piece. Don't you think she's beautiful?"
"Beautiful? With this nose?"
"It's a lovely nose. Go on, point it at me. Isn't she a lovely piece?"
"Couldn't we have kept the man in Scotland?"
"I say, Brett, let's turn in early."
"Don't be indecent, Michael. Remember, there are ladies at this bar."
"Isn't she a lovely piece?" "Don't you think so, Jake?" "There's a fight tonight," Bill said. "Like to go?" "Fight?" said Mike. "Who's fighting?" "Ledoux and somebody." "He's very good, Ledoux," Mike said. "I'd like to see it, rather." He was making himself an effort to pull himself together. "But I can't go. I had a date with this thing here. I say, Brett, do get a new hat." Brett pulled the felt hat down far over one eye and smiled out from under it. "You two run along to the fight. I'll have to be taking Mr. Campbell home directly." "I'm not tight," Mike said. "Perhaps just a little. I say, Brett, you are a lovely piece."
"Go on to the fight," Brett said. "Mr. Campbell's getting difficult. What are these outbursts of affection, Michael?"
"I say, you are a lovely piece." We said good night. "I'm sorry I can't go," Mike said. Brett laughed. I looked back from the door. Mike had one hand on the bar and was leaning toward Brett, talking. Brett was looking at him quite coolly, but the corners of her eyes were smiling. Outside on the pavement, I said, "Do you want to go to the fight?" "Sure," said Bill, "if we don't have to walk." Mike was pretty excited about his girlfriend, I said in the taxi. "Well," said Bill, "you can't blame him such a hell of a lot." Thank you so much for joining him. I do hope you're enjoying this one. I am a lot. More tomorrow, same time and place, 5 Pacific at Fireside Reading on Instagram. Until then, I do hope everyone stays very, very well indeed. Goodbye.